Welcome back to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is June 28th, 2020. This is episode 34. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do. Also, please feel free to add comments here. Today we're going to talk about FairLady number 4, issue 4 from Image Comics. I've done the other 3. I think I'm the only one doing this comic right now. It did come out last year, so that could be part of it. But a lot of people liked it, the original issues, or so they said in the review. I don't know if they just put something out there really quickly. I have not been liking these, and for a number of reasons. They are well done, I'll give them that. They have a nice look to them, and the whole idea behind this is there's a female detective. This is supposed to be a gender swap of Magnum PI with a Higgins swap of a wizard, and she takes care the gender swapped detective's name is Jenner Folds, and I'm thinking that's a play on words for Bruce Jenner and Caitlyn Jenner. Who is the same person, and that's your gender swap there. Ha ha ha. Not so funny. But anyway, what I found is all of these issues, and I got one more to go after this, all issues have been Shaggy Dog stories or mysteries. Shaggy Dog mysteries. They're very unsatisfying. They drag you through the whole issue. The clues don't make any sense. And the finale is less than satisfying, and you really, on some of these, you really have no idea what happened. Honestly, I've gone through these and pored over to see if I've missed clues or other things, and it just feels like it's written to keep the reader abreast, not abreast, the opposite of abreast, more like afar from any kind of conclusive clue finding, fact finding. So very unsatisfactory so far. Like I said, it's done very well as far as the physical aspect, the way it looks. Brian Shermer is the author, and Claudia Balboni is the artist on this. This issue here, they only shipped 5,000 issues, and that might be why we haven't seen more since then. I do have an issue 5, which fell down to 4,000 after I think they had, a 14,000 issue start, so quite a drop. But let's get into this one real quick. This particular one, they put the title at the end of all places. Let me get to that real quick. It's called The Case of the Missing Page, and oddly enough, ironically enough, it seems like every one of these mysteries has had a missing page at the end that would tell you exactly what happened. I'll give you a little shot there of the credits, so you can see everybody else that worked on there. And there was, they did have an editor on this. I'm pretty sure, edits by Danny Coleman. They had two, Jeremy Salaby. So I'm not sure why it got past them, because it seems like it's got a lot of holes in the plot. This particular one is Jenner Folds is hired to find a book that has actually, the person hired her had been reading this book, and the last few pages have been torn out. So she's been hired to find this book, and this book was published way before this big war of the wasteland, I think they call it, where, give you a little look at that here, gives you a little background on her. I've already gone through this in the other issues, but if you want to pause this and read this, but find out what happened in this book. They're just curious. It's driving them nuts, and it seems to be anybody that reads this book, the same thing happens. They're wondering what happened. And so as you see this picture here, this is one of my complaints. This picture was actually in the last issue as well, exactly the same. And you get this is what's been going on in these stories that have been driving me crazy, is like, here's the same kind of picture again. They have moved the objects around a bit. Like the garbage over here, now it's over there. There's a lot of blank panels with nothing in it. Dialogue. Like I said, this is just like it's just a wild goose chase. This is the person that hired. He's wearing a mask and he's looking like a Funko. And I don't know if that's supposed to be funny or not, but the story jumps around a bit. Like here she's tied up and all of a sudden she's back at the wizard's tower that she's protects part-time and I guess lives there. And it's so funny because we go to a bookstore and a library, but this wizard's tower seems to have more books than both the bookstore and the library put together. So I don't know why she needs to go there. There might be a copy of it there. Okay, here's the bookstore. See, it's pretty, not a lot of books on the shelves there. It's not a good business to be in. And here is the library. You can see some books in the background there, not too many. And it's funny because they do have it's a fantasy world here, and they have a lot of these fantasy creatures, but they just act like normal people. They're just, I don't know. It just, her best friend's a cat or a man with a cat head on it, but he just acts like a normal man. He doesn't do anything special. No other special attributes. She spends a lot of time going to the police station and her friends at the bar. This is the only white guy that she's friends with. All the other white guys are kind of just kind of mean and villainous, or whatever you want to call, pretty much. So just the story goes on and on. There's a lot of talking, as you can see. I really like this. I've liked this throughout. This is where the village takes place, inside this old robotic, it's this giant robotic armor. And there's little towers and cities and things like that are within the limbs. So here it's kind of, they're just showing where she has gone on this journey to find this book. And as you can see, like this writing's really small, hard to read too. So that was annoying. So she's able to track down 2 other copies of this book, and each one has the same pages missing. And so she goes back to the library, and then she gets the final clue. Hey, it's the bookstore owner, it's the person that is tearing the pages out. And now we get this just drives me crazy. This is one of the pages I'm paying for. And not only is there hardly anything on it, but they make it so small. Look, I have to get like right in here just to read this thing. It's like, what a waste. And we've seen other blank spaces in this issue as well, but that's not the end of it. Again, they're reusing this same picture from the one before that. From this shot here. She do this in like every single one of these issues. There's been repeat pictures that they have had to do nothing for. They're identical, the same details. Just the dialogue has changed. And if that's not enough, we just get a lot of talking, not a lot of action at all. And it turns out the bookstore owner used to be a scribe. He was enslaved as a scribe, and he had to write the ending to the same book over and over again. And it was that book. And he said it was an awful book. And here we go again with more of these blank pages, not really telling you anything. And right now, you'd never know it, but after talking to the person that hired them and being tied up, he doesn't supposedly the guy tearing the pages out doesn't remember the ending any longer, and he's happy about that. So Jenner goes back to the tower, and she's with the wizard now, though you wouldn't know it. And they're summoning the spirit of the author, and so it's like, why are you summoning me? Well, we want to find out the ending of this book, And so he said, and so here's the last page, the real kicker. Let's get in there so you can see it. Spoiler alert! Not really, because they don't tell you what the ending was. Pretty much, yeah. So very, very frustrating. And then they have the title, and that's what they call the Fell. That's where all the action took place. Basically, the city's inside here. So finished it. Can't recommend it at all. Just like the other 3 volumes we've done so far. I've started reading the 5th volume again, and I think it's going to be a not recommend as well. Now, there's some aspects from the other issues that's going to be in the 5th issue. She's like rounding it all up, but it seems to not make a lot of sense. I can't believe I did all 4 of these. I'm going to do a 5th of this. Oh, man. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well and taking care of each other and being kind to everybody. This is Indie Comics Jones with another not recommend of FairLady from the Temple of Tomes.